Hey everyone, it's Kelly. Thanks for joining me. I am back today with a new 12 by 12 scrapbook process video. And this month I am guest designing with Spiegelmom Scraps. And Jody from Spiegelmom Scraps was kind enough to offer a discount code for anyone that wants to shop during my guest design term. So if you use the code KellyJ15 at checkout, you will receive 15% off your order. So this is actually the second project that I created after I knew that I was going to be guest designing. And in the first layout that I created, I did a close-up of all of the sequins that I received for my guest design term. And I decided to switch up the order in which I was going to submit my projects. So I don't have that included in this video because I wasn't anticipating using this as my first project. So I did include that photo at the beginning of the video, so that way you could see the sequin mixes that I was sent. They're all gorgeous, and I'm going to be using a couple different sequin mixes for this layout today. As far as the scrapbook products go, I am using all Pink Fresh Studio. I use a majority of the Felicity collection, but I do mix in a little bit of the Dream On collection also. And as you can see, I did start out by tearing one of the 12 by 12 pattern papers, and it about ripped my heart out to tear that pattern paper because it is so pretty. But I have two in my stash, and I've had this Felicity collection for quite some time. So I was in the mood just to use things up, try things. If it didn't work out, it's been in my stash long enough, at least I gave it a go. So I do like how it turns out. I end up tearing it twice actually, and then as you could see, I repositioned the second part that I tore. So that way there were a few more dots showing on the right hand side of the layout. Now I'm just bringing in some more die cut pieces, and I do use some die cut pieces. I do use some puffy stickers. So there's lots of texture on this layout. Now I've decided that I want to add some mixed media. So I am going to grab some white gesso. And I'm going to add that gesso mainly on the bottom half of the page because that is where the mixed media is going to go, because the pattern paper is going to be covering up the top portion of the layout. And I decided to use Heidi Swapp Coral, and there I was just cleaning off my brayer, but I am going to just spray some of that Heidi Swapp Coral onto this piece of packaging, and then I'm going to use the brayer to spread that color around. I thought about using the packaging technique to apply the color to the background, but I really wanted it to have more of a stroke appearance on the background. So I do bring a paintbrush in just to spread some of that color around. And I didn't want it to have that watercolor look that you get a lot of the times with the packaging technique. I wanted this to definitely have some streaks in it and definitely have some lines in it. And I'm really happy with how it turns out. I am going to bring back in some of the die cut pieces and the photos just to make sure that I have the amount of coverage that I'm looking for with the mixed media. And I'm glad that I did because I needed to add a little bit more color to the right hand side of the layout. Now I'm happy with how that mixed media looks, and I thought about adding some vellum kind of tucked in between these layers where I added the second torn piece of that pattern paper just to give it a little bit more definition, but I didn't really like how it looked. The vellum that I had was 8.5 by 11, so it didn't go the full length of the 12 by 12. And I just decided to go without it. I thought that it would show up well enough without that vellum tucked in there. I do in the end kind of curl the edges just to give it a little bit more definition. I did add some machine stitching around the outside edge of the layout just for some more texture. And that's also going to make sure that those pattern papers stay in place. Now I'm going to start to bring the photos and the embellishments, the die cuts, the puffy stickers, and everything back onto the layout to get my design going. And I'm going to use that die cut piece on the bottom. It's kind of centered. It's underneath that bottom photo. And I'm going to use that as my journaling for the layout. That is actually a die cut piece that was included in the Felicity die cut pack. And it says, "Is the spring coming?" He said. "What is it like?" She said, "It's the sun shining on the rain and the rain falling on the sunshine." And I thought it was the perfect journaling for these photos. These are photos that I took last year in the spring, and we were having a thunderstorm and the grass was really green and it just was really pretty outside. It was very springtime, and I prefer cold, rainy days over warm, sunny days, which I know that is not a popular opinion, but I really prefer it to be cold and rainy. I think I belong in Seattle or someplace like that. But these are my favorite kind of days. I love when it is raining, and I snapped these photos from my living room during the storm, and I actually printed it twice, and I didn't really do that on purpose. I wasn't really planning on using two of the same photo on this layout. I had edited the photo slightly different the second time when I printed it, but you couldn't really tell. So I just decided to go ahead and use it. I think it just gives a little bit more emphasis on the photo, especially if the photo is smaller when you have two of the same photo. And I like that I could overlap them and just create a little bit more interest on the layout. So I'm going to take just a few more moments to get everything positioned on the layout where I want it to go. I did a lot of fussing with this layout. I did a lot of moving things around and shifting things up and shifting things down and just kind of rearranging. I just wasn't feeling like the design was very even. As I continue to go on, I felt like the right-hand side of the layout was too heavy with the circle and those little branch puffy stickers and die cuts. So I'm trying to figure out what I can add to the left-hand side of those photos just to help balance the design a little bit. I did add strip of washi to the left-hand side, but it was so faint with that mixed media Heidi Swapp color shine on the background that you couldn't really see it. It is visible when you look at the layout close up, but I didn't feel like it was a strong enough element on the layout to help balance the design. So while I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to balance the design, I am going to just start to bring in some of the sequins. I knew that I wanted to use a couple different mixes, and I thought that this would be a great time to get those added on to the layout. So I grabbed the Peaches and Butterflies sequin pack, which is what I am adding to the layout right now. The peach color included in that sequin pack matches the Heidi Swapp Coral color shine really well, and it also matches the peach tones that I have going on throughout the layout. I really like the pattern paper that I chose for this layout because those little polka dots are close in size to the sequins. So I end up positioning the sequins on the left and the right hand side of the photo, and it just looks like those polka dots are continuing to cascade down the layout, and it flows really, really nicely. I was really happy with how all of that came together as I started to add the sequins onto this layout. And I was showing you a close-up of some of the sequins that are included in that Peaches and Butterflies pack, and they are teeny tiny little floral sequins, and they are so cute. I don't end up using any on this layout, but I am going to hopefully get to use them on a future project. And you can see on that pattern paper that some of those polka dots are yellow. So I decided to grab the Sunflower Fields sequin pack, and the yellow matched perfectly. So I did add a few of the yellow sequins on the background also. Here's where I finally decided, I had to shut off my camera, but I finally decided how I was going to balance the layout. And I ended up going into my Felicity 6x6 paper pad, and I punched a few circles in one of the pattern papers. It's actually the smaller pattern paper that I used at the top portion of the layout. And I punched a few circles, and I'm going to add circles to the left and the right hand side of the photo. And that just really helped balance things. It added another element that was consistent throughout the layout. So I have that circle that says, "Oh, happy day." And then I also have those punch circles on both the right and the left hand side of the photo. So I felt a lot better about the composition of the layout once I added those circles on there. And now I've added my date. I did also adhere those sequins down, and I'm not sure if you saw how I did that, but I just took a tiny pair of tweezers and just picked up each sequin because I liked the placement on the background, and added just a little dot of liquid adhesive right where I picked the sequin up, and then just used the tweezers to press the sequin down into that adhesive. So here I am showing you the final close-ups. I do add one more thing off camera, which I think you will see in the still shots. I took another one of those punch circles and just added it right underneath the photo. It's right above the date. When I stamped the date, I didn't stamp it quite as close to the photo as I wanted, and I felt like there was a gap there. So that just helped fill in that gap. But here are all the close-ups. Please head to Spiegelmom Scraps. I will post a link in the description box below. Remember to use the Kelly J15 when you place your order. Jody does an amazing job of mixing the sequins. They are so beautiful, so I highly recommend them and highly encourage you to head over and check them out. I'll be back again soon with a new layout and process video. As always, thank you so much for watching.